Okay, we are recording to the cloud, and last thing is, oops, let me make the browser window a little bit. There we go. And okay. Where's my share screen window? Here we go. And here we go, Chrome. So let me do something here real quick. Okay, let me try it one more time. Now, for some reason, it seems like it's in chat. Like, are the meeting minutes in what do you call it mode? In suggestion mode? Oh, it looks like somebody fixed it.
I was going through and accepting those.
So listen to this. Yesterday I sent, let me interject here. Yesterday I noticed why some of the minutes are coming like this. It is because Edwin and John moved it to the MicroProfile drive, but not the correct drive. So then I sent a message yesterday to John and Edwin, please move it to the community drive. Remember that the external drive doesn't allow for collaboration. So these minutes are in the wrong drive. When things arrive in that formal drive back there is when everything is finalized. This is about community. This is about collaboration.
Yeah.
So then I send the email, Edwin, John, please follow the email. It's there. You are in the 2. And if you have questions, just pull me in. I know, pull me in. We need to move.
I blame it on PTO yesterday. So
I know, don't even worry about it. Just follow that email, pull me in if you have problems, and even the link is there. Just drop it in there.
Okay, so all right, I will take a look at that. I'm still catching up, and all right. With that being said, so for today's call, I'd like to focus first. I know we have a few other topics here on budget. So there's 2, I think, top level things to discuss. I think Paul and Sharon were going to kind of cover the MicroProfile budget, and they've got some experience with the other working groups and how they do budgeting, and that can help us out here. And then I know Amelia has also kind of she's got a link, and we've kind of had this long-standing placeholder Google Doc about putting things in there regard to the more specific action items that we want to take around the budget. So if it's okay, I would like to first begin by maybe asking either Sharon or Paul, I don't know who's going to take the lead, to kind of discuss how you do it. All right, thank you.
All right, and Sharon will jump in. And I have a presentation to share. So I'll pause and let you just stop sharing, and then I will. Okay. So we'll walk through the presentation, discuss as needed, and we'll circulate the presentation afterwards so that you've got it as reference. And this is hot on the heels of your approved program plan. And so the budget naturally interlocks with the program plan, especially the approved program plan. So that one is done. And was there a tally for the vote on that one?
Full vote.
Pardon me?
Full, it had all the members plus a few community.
Yeah, no, it had a lot of plus ones. It just wasn't. It didn't recall seeing a tally of the vote too, but it looked like it went through unanimously. So
yeah, maybe I didn't.
Well
I should have done that, and I did. It's funny. I actually updated the next steering committee meeting minutes with I think the vote results, but maybe I didn't send out an actual email. So I'll need to do that. But
okay, cool. Also good to create a PDF of the program plan, so you've got the version that was voted on. So the deliverables that come out of the program plan feed into the budget. So and the budget, of course, is based on the expected revenues, and it's tied to the implementation costs of the items that are in the program plan, and including costs to implement the objectives. And It does also cover off recovery costs for the startup phase of working groups as they're getting underway, as there's additional work that's required in order to stand them up. And the budget, as per the foundation process, is prepared by the EMO in collaboration with the working group, and then reviewed and approved by the steering committee. Sounds like somebody's in the kitchen.
I'm trying to catch them, muting them.
Mute
so-
everyone. Let's mute everyone.
Okay, so let's start with 2020. So 2020, we had the founding members with Red Hat, IBM, Tommy Tribe, Jelastic, Payara, and the Atlantic Jug. The word,
Paul, that should also include Garden State Jug. Was that missing, or is that normal?
might have been a timing thing, but
Okay.
happy to put it in if it's more the merrier. So yeah, so it could just be an oversight on our part. Sharon, can you take a look, please?
Chandra, you nailed it. I was going to be like, what is Garden Jog? You joined in December.
And
It
So-
could be, it could
you know
be,
what it may have been, we may have
It's
been just
internal.
slow on getting the paperwork done.
Yeah.
I
So
don't- So Paul,
It's good news. We're
I-
all paying attention, so please carry on. I'll
Yeah,
take
no.
that offline with
it
Sharon.
was
Good catch, though.
2021. Yeah, it was 2021 according to when it got into our system. So it falls into 2021.
Did they pay a prorated amount?
they joined in 2021.
Okay, so that would be.
No,
another-
no, no. But hold on a second. I want to discuss this because we never got to it. And Chandra, you're here, but let me speak. They send the invoice, they send their contracts after the Eclipse Foundation EMO was on vacation. That is December 18th. They send it 2 days after. So then you guys were off. And I understand that it will be, you need to be out and come back and do this. You're not requested to do that. However, can we acknowledge that the member sent off the contract signed on their side, and can we make it valid for their dates? Do you see what I mean? There needs to be a
I'm just
compromise.
pointing out in chat that the statement is not about when people join, but did they pay money for 2020? So the only question is, did they pay money for 2020? And if they didn't, then the statement of what they can't be included in the prorated fees for 2020, because there were no prorated fees paid.
right,
That's correct. There are no prorated fees paid by Garden State because we didn't process their membership application fully until 2021.
and,
Okay.
and I don't think Payara, they weren't part of that group either.
No,
No, correct.
Payara,
I think it was beginning of
yeah,
January.
Payara is not, so this
you
is the
should-
thing.
You should audit that one as well.
Yeah, Payara was not a part of this, and I know Garden wanted to be included. The question that I have for Garden Estates, if Eclipse Foundation were to honor, I do not know if you guys can do that, if EMO, will you be okay to pay for that invoice within a month?
I can get back to you. More than likely, the answer is yes, depending upon the funds required, but more than likely it's a yes. It's just
That's
a
awesome.
matter of us directors meeting up. Should that be acceptable? I'll definitely take it up with the directors.
So
That
just-
doesn't matter much.
Sorry, can I just speak for a second? Because I think we're going maybe down in the weeds a little bit here. We're happy to adjust this slide, of course. But for example, I'm looking at our internal records, which I'm not going to discuss here because there are all kinds of privacy issues. I can tell you that according to our internal records, we have Payara joining in 2020. So the list of membership you see on this slide is based on the internal records that we have. And I have no, I'm just commenting on what those records say as to when the membership was signed with us. That might have been executed back as we have with the with Garden State. In terms of Payara, it does state 2020, which is why Payara is listed here.
And we
Sorry.
missed
I-
sorry about this, but I think we missed the mark. We didn't even know that Payara had joined in 2020, and it would be amazing for members to inform the community, because it's not the job of the EMO to announce or speak on behalf of new members. It is the job of the members to
I
do
think
so.
we want to move on.
All right, you're not.
I
And
think
let's
let's
move
move
on.
save that
Yeah,
comment for the next slide.
Yes,
Because we're going to
let's
get
go.
right back to that point because I'm going to surprise you with a new member.
Okay,
So the revenues that were collected in in 2020 went to offset the startup costs of the working group in 2020. And with that contribution, we seal off the startup costs for the foundation and shift it fully into operating mode in 2021.
You mean legal, Paul? It covers some of the legal work?
It covers some of the legal, covers all the work on the membership, the work that we all did in collaboration with you to get the charter done, and the participation agreements worked, and the operational support to get the working group up and running.
The 12 it's a 12%. I added it into the Excel sheet, but you're talking about the 12%, correct?
Yeah, no, well, no, this is a one-time startup cost. The 12% is G&A that is generally charged on top of working group fees. And we'll get into the G&A discussion for 2021 in a moment. Okay. For 2021, we do have a new member that just signed, which is iJug. So that's brand new. And they've been asked to announce their joining on the mailing list. And I think the request for that went out this morning, so it should be arriving shortly.
Yeah, I think it was yesterday that we asked that, so we should be coming out anytime soon.
Sharon or Tanya, can you introduce who iJug is? Because maybe many here do not know.
Yeah, Sharon, do you have the information, or? I can do it. I
If you
actually
have it,
talked
go
to them.
ahead. I don't
Yeah.
know them.
So they are long-standing member of the Eclipse Foundation, very, very well-known and respected jug from Germany. You know, they have been working together with us on many initiatives, and for the longest time wanted to join both Jakarta and MicroProfile. That just came to realization in last couple of days, and yeah, it's a great thing for both communities, Jakarta and MicroProfile. I have asked them to actually, or I'm not sure exactly who, but they've been asked to send an introductory email to independent working group mailing lists. I've been waiting just for that to go through, and if it doesn't, of course, you will see an email from me announcing it, but we wanted to give them the opportunity to introduce themselves on the mailing list.
Yeah, they announced in the Javaland today at Jakarta EE panel. So
Right.
big supporter for both Jakarta EE and MicroProfile.
And they are the reason I woke up at 4:30 in the morning, PDT. So FYI, please, seriously, why am I wearing my striped t-shirt and gear like I'm in a conference? They are. I think that group is amazing. And they have been with us in MicroProfile, supporting us, you know, supporting MicroProfiler speakers. For those of you who will re-listen to this recorded, they are not just joining. They have been supporting this technology in the community for a very long time. So it's amazing to see them with us formally as a member. Thanks, Sharon and Tanya and Paul, for letting us know.
All right. And additionally, on the membership front, in April, Fujitsu will officially join MicroProfile as well. They're a strategic member of the Jakarta EE working group, and signed on to support MicroProfile, but will officially join the working group in April. And we will ask Kenji to let the community know in April when their membership transpires. Okay, so the revenues from the fees collected get factored into the program plan, and I'll just for clarity, there will be no staff hires associated with any of this these allocation of these fees. That was something we've spoken about previously on this call, so I just wanted to call that out. The budget largely is broken up into these categories. There's a discretionary category, including marketing, and that's an area for the steering committee to allocate funds to in support of the program plan. So basically, the items identified in your program plan we expect would fill out that category. There's also budget allocation for marketing, branding, compatibility, and operating expenses and G&A for the working group, and we'll get into those areas in a little bit more detail as well. We're going to go a little deep on the trademark front, just because it's an important area, and it does get reflected in the budget from a cost perspective, but we thought we'd spend a moment going through it here. It will also tie to the branding and compatibility program that we'll spend a moment talking about. But we need to be careful not to rat hole here, but we can just go over this quickly. And Sharon, do you want to take the lead on that one?
Sure. Thanks, Paul. Okay, so we had originally for the MicroProfile project trademarked or registered the trademark for Class 9, and that was done for the European Union, the United Kingdom, and the United States. So that was all done as part of MicroProfile being a project with the Eclipse Foundation. So one of the things we now need to do is ensure that we protect the working group name of MicroProfile. So that means we will be registering in Class 35, and we will do that across all 4 jurisdictions. So European Union, United Kingdom, Canada, and the US. Then we will also take the design mark and the compatibility mark, and we will register that in 93542, again, across all 4 registrations. This is to protect the compatibility mark for the trademark and branding program, downloadable software, and of course the specifications. And what I would like to point out here is, because I know some of you are familiar with Jakarta, this approach of what I'm showing you here is now the standard that the Eclipse Foundation is providing generally to working groups who are creating specifications. If there is any request outside of this from a working group that is not what you see here in terms of classes and jurisdictions, that would require extra funding from the working group itself, from its budget, and that would be subject to the Eclipse Foundation's discretionary approval, because of course, the more of these we have to protect, the higher the cost goes with that effort. Any questions on that?
Yeah. I've got a question. So under the jurisdictions, you've got EU, UK, Canada, US, but then underneath that, it's got EU, UK, I think that's North America, and an X. What's X?
Sorry, John, sorry, that's supposed to be United States there. I was modeling my my chart accordingly. So that's the US. So I wanted to point out here in that line that we actually didn't register the word mark of MicroProfile in Canada at the time, because that wasn't our standard process back then. Now we've standardized on these 3 classes across 4 jurisdictions.
Okay, and that was Kevin, not John.
Oh, sorry. Thanks, Kevin, for the question.
Sharon, this is fantastic. Like, I really like the show and tell.
Okay,
Did we make sure the MicroProfile is written with large M and large P? Because right now we have done the draft for the trademark, the documentation. It just got done on Monday, and we need to review it here, and then it has to be voted in, and we need to see what is the IPs and what else is missing. But it's so easy to miss. So did we do it?
Oh yeah. Well, I say yeah. I will go back to our trademark manager and ensure that that is how it was done. But keep in mind, and I don't want to rat hole here, often when you register something such as a logo, you register it in black and white, because that then gives the registered owner the ability to do it in colors. So it's quite possible if it was registered in without that capital P, then that's because we then have the ability, once it's filed and registered, that we can make that modification and it's still within our registration field.
So then does that mean that we can fix it?
So these are registration field of use, which it's not my specialty. And the way that trademarks are filed is so that we get as much use as we can. So let's just say, it will always be capital M and capital P, but the way the trademark rules and regulations work, and to give it as much flexibility as possible, it may have been registered not that way, but because it's registered, we now have the ability to use it that way. But I will double check it for you, Amelia, and get back
Thank
to
you
you on
so
that.
much. Once you do, we will submit a Git ticket to change all the websites and everywhere we have it to say they are, because we never even talked about it. If we didn't pay
okay.
for it, we didn't own the question. Thanks.
Absolutely, and we do need to start using those symbols across the websites when they are registered. So that's a very good point as well.
So question on jurisdictions, there's no Asian countries listed or Asia in general. So do any of the working groups have their trademark registered in any Asian countries in that region?
It's quite possible. I'm not sure who's speaking, David. I think.
Sorry, this is B. David, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, it's quite possible. Certainly, you know, a lot of how we approached this in the past was different than kind of the standardized approach we're taking today. This is the standardized approach we are going to take today. So yes, there could be, I don't know, Jakarta, there could be OSGI, there could be other working groups that have been registered in those areas. It's all based on, you know, the particularities at the time. For example, OSGI, the trademarks may have been transferred to us, or there may have been reasons that it was important to go to certain other jurisdictions. But this is the standard approach we will now apply. If there is a reason that the working group sees a requirement, then the budgeting money would have to be there to support that.
Sure. Okay.
Sharon, Ruslan speaking. I have a question. Sorry, I'm new for this. My question is the following. Can we get specific details about the costs per each region and who performs the work?
So we have, what I can tell you is that the Eclipse Foundation performs the work on behalf of the working group. We have a trademark specialist, a manager on our staff who does this work on behalf of the Eclipse Foundation. And your other question about the cost, yes, we are starting to we have pulled together in order to give you budgeting figures on what the cost of these registrations are in and of themselves. And you'll see that when we get to the budget slide, you'll see the amount for the effort that's listed here. That does not include ongoing costs. So for example, when you register a trademark, you don't necessarily know if you're going to get an office action filed against you, what that office action is. You know, is it something that is even worth continuing on with? So there are a lot of variables related to costs with trademark, of course, ongoing protection and so on and so forth. And what you're going to see on your line item with respect to the registrations itself is just the cost to file.
Okay, thank you.
So then if we wanted Asia and Africa, we could add it here and they can be like a service that provides us the amount, correct?
We would just need to understand what the costs are and
Yes.
see if we have budget.
We would have that transparency is what I mean.
We would probably want to do that definitely if we get people from those areas joining.
Of course. Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I'm curious in the rest of the budget, so I want to make sure.
All right, we've definitely made a note on Asia as well. So thank you, Sharon, and good discussion. Next area of focus is the trademark compatibility program for MicroProfile, and the items here are really the trademark compatibility system that we put together for Jakarta, and what we've sized for creating the program very much aligns with a Jakarta style program for MicroProfile. That said, the first bullet item here, I put custom trademark program consultation with the steering committee, because I do realize that there's input required, and there has been some discussion as we're standing up the working group with regards to the custom trademark program. So that does need to get worked through, and as much as we end up in a spot that is similar to what we've done with Jakarta. And then we can leverage the existing trademark and compatibility system that we have today. Then we're not delving too much into new legal work, new agreements, new guidelines, and so on. So that is something that we need to discuss and work through, and it will likely tie to where MicroProfile ends up with regards to a platform spec, if you will.
Paul, and on this one is super great because I expected us to talk about the trademark today because it deals with budget. We finalized the trademark guidelines yesterday, and we used the Jakarta EE trademarks. We have not done the handbook because I'm concerned with the IP and what we might want to include on that, but it's pretty much complete. So we will not need to pull you on the EMO onto the consultation because I was part of the Jakarta EE trademark process. But it's just super good to see it here. This is really good. I just wanted to say.
I think we're all going to have a lot of feedback when we start to see the line items and what they cost. So let's get to there, right? Let's make sure we have some time in the meeting for us to.
Right. And the trademark usage guidelines and the trademark compatibility license agreement and to some degree, the brand usage handbook. I mean, these are governance documents that are owned by the Eclipse Foundation and worked with in collaboration with the working group. So we've got to bear that in mind too. And as well, what meeting were those items worked in? And I didn't recall seeing an agenda for a meeting. Right, but was there an agenda published for that?
All the time.
I guess I missed that.
Mm-hmm. It's published in the
All
marketing.
Things are recorded in public as well. So.
Yeah, it's a marketing forum.
Let's keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but I guess my point though is there's if decisions are being made in meetings, then on a governance point they need to get.
No votes. Let me go backtrack. No votes.
Doesn't matter if it's a vote or not. Go ahead, Paul.
Okay, well let's keep going. And so there's creation of the program, then there's ongoing support and operating the program. As Sharon pointed out, these trademarks, once registered, do require constant attention and office actions in areas that enforcement if need be, particularly from a compatibility program perspective, if the compatibility mark's being used inappropriately. And there are obligations that we need to fulfill with regards to the requirements of the TCK license that we work on as well. And then ongoing collaboration in the implementation of the administration of the specification process. Okay, so let's working group and operational support is something that we call out here. There is no community manager for MicroProfile, so there's work that gets done by the foundation to support the working group in the area of program and project management for items in the budget that require the foundation to go off and do any procurement and implementation of items that are identified that require us to work on behalf of the working group. Program management as well, the foundation's office, as far as services in support of the working group to make sure that the foundation is working on the priorities that the working group has identified. And then compliance and governance considerations that are part of the working group process, and then just general infrastructure work that we do to support the working group. The G&A in this case, so G&A is uniformly charged at 12% for all working group budgets. And that is 12% from the fees collected is set aside by the foundation to do back office work on behalf of the working group, and that's largely finance, accounting, and basic IT services that that need to get done. In 2021, the G&A is waived for MicroProfile because most of the fees, the revenues that are collected in 2021 came from the Jakarta EE working group, where that 12% was already applied. So it's not getting applied here because the fees that are being used to fund this budget came from the MicroProfile working group, as per direction from the strategic members of the steering committee. Any questions on that one? Okay, so the draft budget is
Enlarge it, Paul. It's a little bit too small.
okay. Yeah, let me work on that.
Thank you.
Hang on.
You can just make it into a slideshow.
Yeah, good, very good idea. Thanks
Yeah.
for that.
Or
Sharon.
you can also individually increase the font in Zoom under view options.
How's that?
That looks good.
Perfect.
Looks good.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So, in discretionary, as I mentioned earlier, no fees have been, our budget has been applied to any of those items, and we're looking to the steering committee to make decisions with regards to these areas. And although we have listed a number of items there could be others, and the expectation is that they align with objectives in your program plan. And the funding allocation for that is $36,000 out of the total fees collected.
So can you help me understand that? So you're recommending that we allocate 36K to those general areas that we divide up to our taste?
Well, we're recommending that when we apportion the fees collected, there's 36,000 that is available for that.
Okay, yeah. So you're recommending we just create a general budget of 36K for items of that nature.
That's right. Yeah.
I have a question, Paul. In the compatibility branding, you mentioned that a bunch of the work was done already for the Jakarta EE group. Why is it that we will have to pay 40,000 about? This is estimate, right?
Yeah, I think can you guys go back and itemize that 40K for us? Because there's a lot of things that we intend to do ourselves, like create our own logo.
Yeah, and we already, yes.
And so, we don't need any website work from you. So you wouldn't be creating a compatibility page. We don't need any of your services on those regards. So we really need that itemized.
Please.
Yeah, so the previous slide does have the area of focus, and for the compatibility and branding, it would be helpful to understand what the program is you have in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Because as best I know, there's no artifact that I can point to where I can understand what the compatibility and branding program is that the working group intends. So I'm just aware that there's been discussions about a profile, but there is not yet a profile. And I know there's been discussions about compatibility of or TCKs for the individual specifications, so question marks beside the Jakarta specification. So if there's some definition on what that program is that has been reviewed, understood, and discussed, and potentially voted on, then that would be good to know.
That would be great to know, but you still should get us an itemized list of that 40K, because obviously you have a program in mind for that 40K, and it is fair for that stuff to be itemized out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we don't tend to break things down to that granularity of detail. We do identify the areas that we will work in to deliver, but more breakdown could be possible. But I think what would be helpful is to make some progress on, and if the progress has been made, then great. Then let's understand it.
So you will be producing some sort of more breakdown than something a little bit more granular than 40K. I'm not asking for things down into dollars and cents, just high level.
It's I'll take a look at it. But I would like to. It becomes contingent on what it is, what shape that branding compatibility program ends up being.
Yeah. So Paul, if the way that I hear it, I mean, I'm going to try to put it into Paul's words. So Paul's been hearing that we, MicroProfile, that we have our own thoughts on, having a branding program, having our own compatible logo, how we're going to verify the testing. But I don't believe we've really written it down for something to point at, so that then the Eclipse Foundation can look at it and say, oh, okay, well, what they provide, yeah, that's sufficient for what's needed for this. So we don't have to provide the extra, whatever this 40,000 is providing for.
Correct.
Right, but let me just address that in terms of, if a customer comes to me and says, I don't know what I want, I think it's kind of like this, and then I say, well, it's going to cost you 40K. How do I get that number of what it's going to cost when they don't know what they want?
Yeah, so on the previous slide where we discussed that, I said it was largely patterned after what we did on Jakarta EE, but I caveated that with the first bullet on that slide to say it needed input from the steering committee. So my request to the steering committee is, let's engage in that discussion and provide us some input.
Yeah, I just, there's a slight bit of discomfort for me personally when there's a price tag on a program and then we go yanking things out of the program and we don't know what we're saving in this negotiation, right? It would leave me with the impression that somehow it would still wind up being pretty much 40K no matter what we do.
I am very uncomfortable, and it's not because of lack of transparency. It is because of the refusal of coming back with the information.
I think it would just be good to have
I'm looking for a collaborative process where we've got some input. So please provide some input, and we'll discuss.
Well, the input should be.
Guys, may I ask a question? Like, is it again, like, is it budget approved by working group, or like it just getting from Eclipse Foundation and we must accept it, like, anyway? Like,
No,
how it's going to work?
Well,
so it's going to be what?
So there will be costs that the Eclipse Foundation has to cover. So there are definitely line items that will come from them.
Yeah. So Paul, is it possible or feasible for you to share at least a template of what Jakarta had to go through when they set up their branding program, that we could sort of leverage and sort of either justify or create our own template of where we use the 40K?
Yeah, so that's here, and actually, what I can do is provide some links to the Jakarta governance documents that are referenced here, and the Jakarta program took a couple years to do, and cost probably at least an order of magnitude or more to what's being quoted on slide 10. Mm-hmm. And so we're really tweaking what was done in Jakarta, and to make it a flow appropriate tune it for MicroProfile. I mean, that said, bullet one here is what is the nature of the branding compatibility program for MicroProfile. It's there's been discussions, but it's unclear to me what form it will take.
Yeah. How about this in terms of something pragmatic? Mm-hmm. It is our intent to do as much of this work as we can as a community. If we set aside the 40K, did as much work as we can, took it as far as we possibly can, then said, what else do we need to do to complete this? And then, because obviously you guys are going to do some trademark registrations and things like that. But basically take it as far as we possibly can, get as much work done out of it, and then come to you with what's left to be done, and you can price that out.
So let me take this away and then come back, because what I want to do is this is a subset of the items that need to get done, And
Right.
which ones do we believe that need to live and be owned by the foundation, and which ones can the working group take on in collaboration, and see where we end up.
Okay, so
I mean, yeah, what I'm intending to communicate is like, you know, we set aside the cash, but we start working on it. There's no spend on it yet. We work as much as we possibly can as a community to get as much work done as we possibly can. And then we look at what's left over, and you give us some idea of what it would cost to get the remaining things finished.
Okay, and what I want to also be, call out are elements that need to be owned by the foundation for whatever reason that might be.
Yeah, so
And,
just to follow on that, right? The governance of the working group, right? And the legal sides, that is going to be owned by the Eclipse Foundation, because we're doing this on behalf of the working group from open transparency, vendor neutrality. And so the governance and the legal parts, I'm pretty sure you'll find will not be subject to the community working on some of this.
Sure.
the
Right.
legal part we understand.
A good request, David. So I like what you're suggesting. Let's take it that way. But I do. This bullet is an important one with regards to what does branding what does compatibility mean in the context of MicroProfile? Is it use the brand when you've implemented the one particular specification, or do you need to implement all specifications? And if so, does that become a profile or a platform spec? What direction is
We
this
haven't
program
talked
taking?
about that one.
Yeah,
We
these are all for us to discuss. We don't actually, in the previous discussions, we haven't had a significant appetite for really highlighting compatible implementations. We have like specific branding.
Yeah, yeah.
We haven't had a great taste for that specific branding program. We have liked to favor the generally usable MicroProfile logo. But anyway,
Simplify.
obviously legal stuff on here, totally understandable. Our lawyers and IBM lawyers and Red Hat lawyers, not useful to you. You need to have your own lawyers do the work. That's not even a question, right? That's completely understandable. Service-oriented stuff, we would prefer to do as much as we possibly can ourselves, and get a final approval where necessary, or things like that. So logo creation, updating the website, there are guidelines available already. We can draft the initial version of the guidelines based upon the stuff that's already there. We could potentially do a lot of this work and just get your sign off on it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right. Good way to proceed, but I think this steering committee does need to get some specificity about what it intends to require for compatibility.
Mm-hmm. So that is a
And
part.
there's definitely some hard discussions that need to be worked through there.
There are no hard discussions in
There are
MicroProfile.
hard discussions. It's fine.
Okay,
We got to
It's not clear why it should be hard. Like it's like
Well,
normal.
I'm going to bring just a little bit of pragmatism here, in that it took us a long time to get this far. The program plan once we put our heads to it, didn't necessarily take all that long, I think.
Yeah, no, you guys rocked on that.
But it's also very vague, right? It's very high level, right? So what I'm so and that's still something that we have to talk about in more detail along with this topic. And so in order to accomplish this, we're going to have meetings somewhere. Maybe it's the marketing meeting, maybe it's standalone meetings, and they're going to have to be in addition probably to this call, right? So someone's going to have to take the lead on it and own it, and the trademark and branding topic, and move it forward. Okay.
I do. I already have volunteered, and we already finished a few of the documents. It's just that we're using the MicroProfile marketing to get stuff done with many contributors. And since, again, I was part of the Jakarta EE trademark, I am mentoring anyone that wants to help. We're helping push this
Right, but
forward.
what feeds that? Is it
I
Go
have
ahead.
another question here. Sorry about this. The management of the program, 10,000. What is that?
That's ongoing management of the program. That is, when requests come in to be added to a compatible products page, when the results come in for the execution of the TCK, and as well to see that the mark is being properly used. And that, there's the setup cost, and then there's the ongoing cost of managing the program on behalf of the working group.
Okay, so managing the program, is it possible for this to be atomized, like in a little dash to say this? Because in the Jakarta budget, we don't have it, like it's just like complicated to see it. For someone that has not been into the Jakarta working group and not navigated those budgets, can we be a little bit kinder, all of us, to bring much more level of transparency of what each item means, especially the compatibility, especially the management program and the legal costs. When I think about legal costs, I think about...
I see that the legal costs are actually itemized, so that's good. So
yeah, at least, yeah.
I'm expecting that 13K to stick no matter what. It's really the 40, and then some of that 10, like one of the things that you mentioned is updating the pages. We don't need you to update pages, so we can handle
nothing.
We've been doing that for 4 years. Companies have come and gone, and we've added them to the website. Not a real big deal.
Yeah, so
can
we do that, please?
So what I would propose for us, and we only have a few minutes left, that we earmark our budget with that 63K, and then we actually work on the compatibility program and take a look at what we actually need once we've done a bunch of work. It'll probably take us 2-3 months to get somewhere on this, at least. It's not going to be soon, right? So there is no better answer we would be able to give you 2 weeks from now.
Okay, that's a fine way to proceed, and as well as looking at your program plan and items in the program plan that would naturally fall into the discretionary bucket, and starting to get that filled out. Because ultimately, what is goodness here is to get a budget locked in that you vote on. And as required, that just like Jakarta, the budget can be changed as the year progresses.
May I request also that the FTE gets removed from the budget? When we work in the charter, we said no.
It's zero.
Yeah, but why add it here?
Well, I'll tell you why it's here. Because if it wasn't here, then I'd be having a different discussion with you to make sure that it was zero.
Yeah,
so I put it in as zero. So
that's a valid point. That's a valid point.
I applaud it. I applaud you.
Oh, you nailed me. Then I get it. Then
it's up to you guys, but we're only going to change it. We're going to do it once.
No. Okay.
I appreciate you having it there as zero. It's meaningful, and the concession and cooperation is appreciated.
All right, cool. And we put it on the other slide as well, as we just wanted to be clear on that. So I'm totally cool with whatever we want to do. I just wanted it to be rendered in black and white.
So Paul,
okay.
Paul, do you agree that you will bring much more transparency to compatibility branding in the management of program items itemized here? Can you please do that?
Well, the only thing to be itemized is the compatibility program.
And the management of program as well.
I tell you what, if they're happy to let us work on it and get as far as we can, and we consider that to be simply an earmarked budget that no one's billing against yet, then we can come back to that 40K and figure out what the actual amount is after we've done our work. That seems to be the most reasonable compromise that I can imagine, because otherwise either one of us is going to be inventing numbers we don't really know about yet.
I agree, and that's why I let off with that bullet. So I think I'm fine with that, David.
And back on the budget, the the working group operations and governance 20K. How does that compare to the G&A?
So G&A is back office, and it's 12%. So G&A is the work that the finance team, base infra support, contracting work that needs to get done based on initiatives that get driven out, usually out of the discretionary. That's G&A. Working group operations is to a large degree, it's what Sharon and I do.
Okay.
It's being on these calls. It's working. It's monitoring the mailing lists. It's supporting you in what you're trying to get done as a working group.
All right.
So then we go into a total of the working group operations and governance. It doesn't have a percentage. It has a match. How does it get calculated? Because you really don't have to be on the calls if you don't need to talk with us or things like this. But I want to understand how this is iterate to other working groups.
And I would, sorry, before you answer, Paul, I just also would like to understand how many more slides do we have? Are you almost near the end? Just so we have a judge of time here, because we don't have a whole lot of time left.
That's the last slide.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and so 20K is roughly 5K per quarter, and other working groups like Jakarta have full-time equivalents. They have a program manager, and so the work that we do is work that in general the program manager would do on behalf of the working group. All right, so this is the last slide, and I think we've pretty much covered this.
Sounds great. All right, so the branding program 13K is just for this year, and so would be the 40K, and then the ongoing cost is the 10K. Is that correct?
Yeah. And so this the legal is really the registration of the trademarks that we went through on that detailed slide, and this is the one-time cost of setting up the trademark and compatibility program, and then ongoing management of the program going forward is we have the program in place and are implementing it.
So in future budgets, we would expect to have basically 30K of fixed expenses plus 12% G&A.
30K of fixed expenses.
Yeah, 20 plus the 10. So the working group governance is 20. The management of the program is 10. Those will recur in our 2022 budgets.
Mm-hmm.
And then there'll be 12% G&A we didn't see this year, which we will see next year.
Yes, and I do the management of the program. This item we may have understated because we started it up in the second half of the year, assuming that there's going to be some startup time to get the program in place. So our forecast for 2022 would take this number up somewhat, but my recommendation would be that we would have this discussion in the fall when we're building the program plan and budget for 2022.
Yeah, we will have a whole year of experience because it may be overstated. It may be, we don't know what the cost is because we won't be running things necessarily like we do on the Jakarta side of the fence. We plan to make everything as much community run as possible. So there may not be as much work for any of us.
Yeah, so my a good discussion for us to get into when we do the budget and program plan in the fall, which we do with all working groups. But in this case, since we're just getting underway, we're doing it now.
Okay.
So I would like to request also, because we will need to see this, take some time to review it, talk about it. Can we add an item on that page that says buffer? Buffer.
Well, that 36K is effectively what we have to choose to do ourselves with.
Yes, but it's not a buffer. And I will always like for us to think about maybe a 5% for buffer on things that we do not know. Also, I believe, and I want to clarify here.
That's valid. What I'm saying is we need to have that conversation. We still need to have a meeting to decide how we want to allocate that 36K. So it's still up to us to figure out what to do with it.
Chandra, Majid, Neha, you're here in this call. How do you feel? You guys are, what's going on your view on this call? We're talking about a budget we have not seen before. And what is your intake on this?
No, it's just that the semantics of what everyone else has been discussing in terms of itemizing some of them would bring about a lot of comfort to where that money is being spent. Other than that, yeah, it looks like, you know, a well created budget. So thank you for that, whoever participated in creating it. Appreciate that. It's just that atomization is something I'm looking forward to and seeing where we can help. You know, sometimes it's a community that can take over some things that are, I guess, scheduled for budgeted actions could be done by the community themselves. Cutting some corners is in everyone's best interest, so we'll definitely want to take a look at that as well.
Emerson, Neha, Majid, what do you think?
I have a question. Is this information going to be public in the website? In the
Yes. Once
Foundation?
approved.
And well, and this is recorded, so.
It's recorded. There is no hiding.
No, I mean the document is not in the project page in Eclipse Foundation is, and I was looking for something like that. But
We never saw it.
Can you put a link in the next call?
Yeah, as I mentioned as the start of the call, we will distribute the presentation afterwards.
Emerson, this is the first time we saw the document. There are no private conversations in MicroProfile.
Yeah.
Majid, Neha, questions?
So yeah, the document looks really good. I like the breakdown as well. And since this is my first time attending any budget meeting, so I like the portions, like what are the specific areas. So it looks really good to me.
Can I inject? This really sounded like a steering committee meeting, but I don't think it was advertised that way. But
Awesome, and welcome to MicroProfile.
yeah,
So,
I'm trying to sort it out because I'm not sure. I'm not sure everybody was prepared to have their steering committee member present.
No,
Well, I
this is
did
not a
publish
steering
that
committee.
actually. I'm
looking at the calendar. It just says
and maybe this is a learning experience, for me. So one thing I did is to the Google group, I sent a message saying, this is going to be, let's talk about budget. Since it's budget, we should make sure that our steering committee members are represented. Maybe that wasn't the right formal method of doing that. Maybe I should have sent that off to the working group mailing list. So, I'll take that hit.
But I want to ask something here, John.
Hold on, but I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet.
Did you see the presentation? Because I didn't.
Let John finish his sentence.
Sorry.
I'm done. Yeah. So one thing that I would like to do is set this up for the April steering committee call, which is scheduled already, right? To have the formal discussion. So sorry, to have maybe a formal vote. I don't know if we have enough runway or not, to be honest. And if we have to, we'll it's only once a quarter. We could always shift out the steering committee meeting to meet this. So
I believe some time is good because this gives us all an opportunity to itemize ourselves to see where the allocations happen. So
yeah,
that's my vote, but I'm just sharing.
Sorry, I didn't.
So I'm saying having a little bit of time between now and when the steering committee gets to look at it is good. So we get some time to itemize and see how this fits in.
So right now it's scheduled for
second week of April. Second Tuesday.
Second or the first?
Second.
I'm looking it up here. No, it's Tuesday the 6th right now in the calendar. Oh no, you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the April 13th.
Yeah. Anyway, so to answer, I guess, more directly to Ed's question, anytime we need to do a formal vote for things like this, yeah, there's a steering committee vote. It often happens on the list because we actually meet only quarterly. Yeah, so I also was not aware that we were getting a budget presentation today. I didn't see the list.
Yeah, me neither.
But the general workings is that, we do a lot of work all year round, even though we have only formally quarterly meetings.
So I understand that, and I recognize there's an awful lot of work that happens every time. I guess I'm just, trying to navigate, when is a steering committee meeting, when is it a hangout, right? If we're doing formal things, it seems like we should have the steering committee. We should make sure that the steering committee members know that that they should attend each of these hangouts. I don't know if we
Completely
have.
valid. Completely valid
Completely
feedback,
valid.
Ed. And
Yeah,
I tried
and-
to send it out with that note, and maybe it was a somewhat of a fail because I didn't maybe target all the places that people might monitor to see this kind of thing.
I guess
but-
I'm
So if,
not
sorry,
so much thinking about this specific thing. It's just, it seems like maybe the steering committee should always be present at the hangouts. I don't know.
So actually, can we back up? I'd like something to think about. So we have gone ahead and we have created a steering committee mailing list. This is something that is actually required. We were a little late doing it in this particular case, but we did see that there's a reason for it. And again, based on what is happening here in terms of this discussion, I think we should start using it. It's part of governance. It's part of fulfilling steering committee. Not to say that mailing list, that item. So if we had sent to the steering committee, we are going to be discussing proposal of the budget and how we're going to work towards this today to the steering committee mailing list. It may not have been lost because it wasn't even on the working group mailing list that I believe John sent it to. It was on the other Google list you're using. So
Yeah.
I propose that things that really do require the attention of the steering committee, that we utilize the steering committee mailing list. At least for the notice, and then it can go on to whatever mailing list you'd like, your other mailing list that you would like to utilize.
And
That would be my
maybe-
recommendation.
And maybe a notification more than 24 hours upfront, because I receive a daily group of mails from the mailing list, but so if it's just sent out a few hours before the actual meeting, I see it a day later, which is of course a pity.
So,
I
so
think
just,
I sent out
I'd like
the
to say,
budget discussion topic last week. I think it might have been Thursday or Friday, but I think I might have. Yeah, I think I might have even mentioned it at the end of the last call, saying we need to talk about the budget. And I can't remember if I did that, but I know I sent out the email.
So John, this is great, but my question is for the Eclipse Foundation EMO. Is there any reason for you not to share the presentation to the working group forum
They will.
before this call? Is there any
They
reason
will.
why that didn't happen?
Well, that I don't have an answer for, but
No,
Well,
I'm asking Paul and Sharon because
well, take you back when I started the discussion.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
said we're going to go through the slides and then I'll share it.
Okay.
And
So
we
then,
will.
the second question is, Sharon, I know the working group created a mailing list. No, the EMO created a mailing list, and I am absolutely against it because every single time there is a vacuum of lack of transparency, we get screwed, not by the Eclipse Foundation, but by ourselves, because we tend to lack transparency because communicating is challenging. So we must push ourselves to talk over public. And
but I just had to say something. You're saying that, but at the same time, there are people here who are saying they didn't get enough notice. If we use the steering
No one
committee
got
mailing
notice.
list,
Hey,
some-
okay. First of all, I wanted to thank the Eclipse Foundation for
3:08, we have to run.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, I did want to thank you guys for coming and doing a budget presentation
Yes.
in public, because that it's not done with any other working group. And I greatly appreciate that. And you took some hits on the chin, and I appreciate you still being here smiling. Please continue to work with us, even though we may be difficult sometimes.
Yeah,
It is very appreciated that we have these conversations in public. So
and we prepare it.
we do have a private list of the steering committee. Announcing things there and continue the conversation in public is totally great. We appreciate that we're able to do this here on a public hangout that is even recorded. So that is just super, super nice of you guys to come and do that. We do have some things to discuss, and John, I don't know if you want to wrap up.
Yeah, I do. I'm going to edit out my falling on the sword, just to let you know before I upload the video. Okay, just kidding. Yeah, I did send it out and tried to recommend that steering members be there. Apologize again. And Paul and Sharon, I know it sounds like you really have to leave, so go ahead. I'm just going to shut down with the normal shutdown stuff now.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for the discussion.
Talk soon.
Thank
Okay,
you so
bye.
much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I forgot to give my starting spiel too.
Yeah, but the thing is, no one saw the presentation. I didn't know there was a presentation.
It's okay.
So it's fine.
End of the
This is
world.
how we do things. So smile, backtrack, and we learn. And Ed is here. Ed, it's amazing what you said, because that is exactly how we felt. I felt,
valid.
what are we doing today? Like, I thought we were going
May I
to
ask a
create our
question?
own thing.
Amelia,
Well-
sorry for interrupting you. I have a question. If it's stupid, like I excuse in advance, like because like I'm still learning, I want to learn how it works. So why do we discuss budget for 21 when we come into the second quarter of the 21? Like, so why it's working like this? So the year is shifted for one quarter, or
No,
it's
well, it's that we'd started our working group very late in the year. So there is a deadline that budgets have to be done by, and it's in December for the board, for the Eclipse board to actually approve the budget completed. So that means we have to get our budget basically finished by the beginning of December, so that they have time to review the material. You know how Amelia just said right now, I want to see things in advance, don't put stuff in front of me in the last minute. Well, the December board meeting is when the board gets to approve the budget. So they also want to see that budget in their hands, so they have time to review it. So that means we have to be done by early December. So
so it's too late. I mean, too late.
we were still forming the working group. Everyone was still signing up, right? So pragmatically, it wasn't possible this year, and we're doing our budget at the end of Q1, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you could say the same thing for the program plan, by the way.
Yes.
Both those items, program plan and budget, need to be done for board approval in December. And so that board meeting may happen, mid-December. So usually we need to give them at least a week, if not 2 weeks, if we're not have our plan and budget finished.
Mm-hmm. But this is good, because once we set it up, we will be okay. We can schedule ourselves to meet the deadlines, but we didn't have anything set up before. So Ruslan, really good question. We had nothing set up before.
Well, we were still forming the working group itself.
Yeah.
So
questions.
All right, yeah. So here's the thing. I think for next week, I think we need to probably cover, a micro-profile release. At some point, to Amelia's point, we have to get back to every other week. I'm at this point, I'm not sure when that can happen. It's a discussion to have on the forum. But I think next week, I don't know if we tackle more budget stuff or if we get into the releases. Let's have that discussion in the forums. Apologize for not, I guess, giving proper notice. I tried to. Sounds like it was a shot and a misfire, but next time around.
John, but stop. Were you informed that we're going to present something? Because if you were not informed, it's not you. It's just
no. I think I do know today is going to be a budget meeting. I remember, John, you did say last week you said next week you're going to be a look at a budget. I remember that.
Look at the budget that I created.
By the way,
can I give you my feedback? Was it on a call? Or it was in mailings? Because I could miss this call completely.
Oh, it was both. I think it was on the call. It was definitely via the Google group.
Yes.
But to that point, enough people didn't understand that we were having it today, and which really means that we need to do a better job at advertising this. So
we can, seriously, I thought we were going to talk about the budget, and I thought of the documents I drafted with a few of you, and then work on that to create the slides. But then I had no idea that the EMO was going to come and present what they have done, which is thanks to them. It's like a really nice thing to do. But I had no idea about that. So then if they inform any of us, hey, we're going to bring a presentation, so be it. But Paul said no one was presented. He just came today and added it. So John, this is not your fault. It's just
so
it's nobody fault, guys. We are learning. We are a new group, so let's take it easy. Nobody fault. Like we are learning. Like we are moving forward. Everything.
Exactly.
So let's be positive.
So learning things. So on the Jakarta side, we have 2 mailing lists for every committee. We got a public list and a private list for every committee, right? So like our specification committee, we got a public list and we got a private list. If we're going to have a dedicated list for the steering committee, I would recommend we have both the public and private. And things like we're going to be presenting this stuff on the public hangout on Tuesday. would just naturally go to that public steering committee list. We can all set our filters up accordingly. So if you miss an email to the public steering committee list and you don't attend, well, you weren't reading your mail. So I can understand why people may have missed something in our Google group, because that's a heavy traffic list. So if we are going to have private lists, or if we are going to have steering committee lists, I recommend we both have both of them, public and private. And
Why don't we use a working group
we keep
for the steering committee?
Okay, and I apologize. It's I have to drop too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're way over. So let's have this conversation. I know it doesn't always, we always say this, it doesn't always happen, but if it's important enough, someone's going to post something to the group and we'll continue to have the conversation there.
Right.
So so at this point, I think I'm going to end the call and say thanks to everyone for joining, and same bat time, same bat channel in 1 week.
Sounds great.
1 week.
Thank you.
Right.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you for moderating. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, John. Bye.